This map gives you an idea of the size of the area which we'll be looking at during the next 30 minutes. That is, the western part of the United States. We begin our trip in Seattle. The city's landmark is the Space Needle, a tower built for the 1963 World's Fair. Mount St. Helens, an active volcano, lies roughly 350 miles south of Seattle. The volcano erupted for the first time in 1979. Mount Rainier almost reminds you of the Alps in a way, with its craggy, snow-covered peaks. But now let's return to the city of Seattle, which was once a provincial town. Today, it's full of modern high-rise buildings. Seattle is also where Boeing, the largest commercial aircraft manufacturer, is based. This is where the jets are assembled. These vast premises would accommodate several football fields comfortably. We'll stay on the West Coast and travel now on to San Francisco. Driving down Highway 101, the skyline of San Francisco rises up in front of you. The Transamerica Building is one of the city's 3 major landmarks. It houses a bank, and its pyramid-like structure reaches into the clouds. Another of the city's landmarks is the cable car. It would have long since disappeared had citizen action groups not campaigned for its survival. The most magnificent of San Francisco's sights is the Golden Gate Bridge. It was built just over 50 years ago. And as the popular song goes, I left my heart in San Francisco. Few visitors would disagree. The 17-mile drive near Carmel, south of San Francisco, takes you through a breathtaking landscape situated on the California coast. Further south down Highway 1, and you'll be amazed by the sheer beauty of this scenic coastal route. Hollywood is a sharp contrast. Here, nature has been overtaken by concrete and glass. Sunset Strip is the backdrop for countless films and TV series. Downtown Los Angeles is in many ways like New York, with its numerous skyscrapers. rather sophisticated suburb of Santa Monica is a haven of peace and quiet compared to Los Angeles. It's a popular spot for sunbathers. We journey now to San Diego in Southern California. An impressive S-shaped bridge connects the mainland to the island of Coronado with its beaches and luxury hotels. The beach at La Jolla is especially popular with children. They enjoy playing in the caves in the cliff face. And their parents have a chance to go for a stroll on the beach. We leave the coast now and move inland. Our first destination is the desert city of Las Vegas. It's a forest of neon lights. Every casino tries to be bigger and better than its competitors. Millions of dollars change hands here daily in these casinos, and the house is usually the one who wins. And don't miss the spectacular shows which played at packed halls every evening in Las Vegas. It's essential to reserve a seat in advance. Now, if you feel the urge to get married quickly, then come to Las Vegas. The ceremony takes only 30 minutes. When in Las Vegas, it's recommended to take a day trip to the Grand Canyon. Let's enjoy the awe-inspiring beauty of this landscape, which defies description. To get the best view of these vast valleys and gorges, a flight by plane or helicopter is highly recommended. Flagstaff lies to the south of the Grand Canyon, and Sedona lies at its junction with Oak Creek Canyon. The reddish stone cliffs are unique and not found in any other national park in the United States. Cityscapes and Mother Nature come together in Phoenix, which lies in the Valley of the Sun. City planners tried to leave as much room as possible for nature and construct as few buildings as possible. They've not only preserved the roadsides, the city boasts numerous parks as well. In and around Phoenix, all kinds of cacti imaginable adorn the city's landscape. The big saguaro cacti, well known for many westerns, grow on the outskirts of Phoenix. You only need to step out the city's limits, and there they are, growing densely. Just stand beside one of these cactuses, and you'll be amazed at how tall they are. Some grow as high as 50 feet. An aerial view of the city shows an abundance of greenery. City planners have tried their best to make Phoenix an attractive city. So it's not really surprising that one of its districts has made a name for itself as a holiday resort. It's Scottsdale, full of luxury hotels with oversized swimming pools and gardens. Leisure time activities in Phoenix are extensive and varied. For about $130 an hour, you can hover above the city and surrounding countryside in a hot air balloon. However, balloon flying is for early risers only. You're picked up from your hotel at around 5 a.m. We leave the Phoenix area now, and it's at least an hour by plane to our next destination, Santa Fe in New Mexico. Santa Fe, formerly a trade center for goods and supplies from the East Coast, hasn't changed its character much since the days of the early pioneers. Ancient culture can be explored in various museums. Indian exhibits are on display in the Palace of Governor Museum. Taos lies to the north of Santa Fe. Here you can see Pueblo-style buildings, which are typical of New Mexico. Taos is well known for its pueblos, its dwellings where villagers still live as they did hundreds of years ago. Paper animals, which are hung up as decorations, make colorful souvenirs. The Rio Grande Valley runs directly past Taos. The water has carved itself so deeply into the ground over the centuries that you could almost believe the Rio Grande was a stream. This river runs deep and must have been a major obstacle to cross for the first settlers over 100 years ago. There was no bridge in those days. We now move north to Durango, where there's a site which justifies an excursion. The Durango-Silverton narrow-gauge railway runs 4 times daily through the Rocky Mountains. Riding on this train, you'll catch a glimpse of regions which otherwise would be impossible to see. This scenery is some of the most beautiful in the Rocky Mountains. Cliff dwellings are also a must for the visitor. Here we see the remnants of dwellings built high up in the cliffs to keep enemies at bay. The ruins in Mesa Verde National Park are the best preserved. The park is near Cortez, about 50 miles west of Durango. Northwest of Cortez is the vast Navajo Indian Reservation. This area is one of the most photographed regions in the country. Monument Valley National Park is very familiar, especially to fans of Western movies. Numerous films were shot here. and stars like John Wayne must have known every rock. Glen Canyon is also impressive. With the passage of time, caves and valleys were carved into the rock, often to depths of 600 feet or more. These cliffs and valleys are now the site of one of the biggest leisure parks in the United States. They now surround the artificially created Lake Powell. Coastline has more jagged cliffs than any other stretch of beach in the United States. If you want to spend your vacation here living in a boat, you must book at least 6 months in advance. On the banks of Lake Powell, there are many marinas, hotels, and boat rental shops. There are lots of ways to enjoy a holiday on the water. You can rent a paddle boat or a powerful speedboat. You can also go water skiing. You can even rent a houseboat. It may move rather slowly, but it's fitted out with all the latest conveniences and can accommodate up to 10 people. Whichever way you decide upon, a holiday on Lake Powell will be a highlight of your trip to the United States. The West has a seemingly endless variety of parks and beauty spots. Our next stop is Zion National Park. The journey there may be arduous, especially if you make this trip in the summer heat. The beauty and the awe-inspiring cliffs and mountains compensate for the strain. Those who would prefer to avoid this long journey can always resort to a charter flight. It's not that expensive in the United States, especially when you consider the time you save, and the cost can be shared by several people. You can also spend the remainder of your trip in a rented car. Our flight took us to Bryce Canyon. At its entrance is the only hotel accommodation available in this region. From the hotel, you can take a flight over Bryce Canyon. If you prefer walking, you can also venture down into the depths of the park. But be careful, the way down is easy. It's the climb back up that could cause problems if you're not in good physical shape. A whitewater boat trip in a rubber dinghy on the Colorado River Rapids is an unforgettable experience. Once you've got your life jackets and provisions, the adventure can begin. The journey starts off harmlessly enough, and you've got plenty of time to admire the sights. Suddenly, without warning, the boat starts to rock. You're right in the middle of the rapids, and you must take care not to fall overboard. Once through the rapids, you must bail the water out of the boat as quickly as possible. The next section of white water could be just around the bend. Survive, and you'll be rewarded with a picnic. A campsite atmosphere emerges as in the middle of nowhere without electricity, running water, or the other conveniences. You'll have to help set up camp before settling down for the night. Only the basic necessities are provided for. But would you see such breathtaking beauty at home? Since the number of tents on a tour are limited, some people have to sleep under the stars, a very special experience. Another type of holiday is a visit to a dude ranch, where you have to do minor chores for your room and board. But there are certain advantages to this type of vacation, such as galloping across the open prairies. Or if you prefer a more leisurely pace, you can stay at a slow trot. A jeep ride through Canyonland may start smoothly, but soon turns into a bumpy ride. You'll see sights which can't be reached on foot. It's an exciting way to spend a day of your vacation in the United States. It would seem the Jeep can cope with almost any terrain. You can go on drives like this not only in Canyonland, but wherever there is rough terrain. to the north of Utah, to the state capital, Salt Lake City. It's also the home of the Church of Latter-day Saints, the Mormons. Parts of the Mormon Tabernacle are open to visitors. You can visit this church, but not the temple, which is a sacred place of worship for Mormons only. Moving north, we enter the state of Wyoming and Yellowstone National Park. Beware of wild animals crossing the roads in the park, but stay calm and don't interfere. Buffaloes have been known to overturn trucks. The geysers are the main attractions in Yellowstone. The most famous is Old Faithful, which gushes into the air punctually every 45 minutes. So much thermal energy is generated by these geysers that they could heat this hotel. But even the smaller geysers have a fascination of their own. They are warm all year round. Another sight worth seeing in Yellowstone are the waterfalls, which cascade several thousands of feet into the depths. The last stop on our tour takes us back to Colorado, this time to its capital, Denver. The Capitol building in Denver has one dome which is layered with real gold leaf. To the top of the Capitol and you'll find yourself exactly 1 mile above sea level. That is why Denver is nicknamed the Mile High City. The skyscrapers may spell big business, but the view is deceptive. The city, once prosperous, is now beset by social problems. Tourists may recognize this building, familiar to viewers of the hit TV series Dynasty. Why not end your visit in Denver with a good meal at the Aero Squadron at Stapleton Airport? Here you can enjoy your meal amidst aviation history, safe in the knowledge that you'll be taking a modern jet back home.